What's going on, everybody? So today I have the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Now this is kind of exciting because this is the first time ever the Sequoia has had the TRD Pro badge thrown on top of it. So this is the most capable Sequoia that has ever been made, and in this video we're gonna go fully in depth. I'm gonna show you everything about the exterior, the interior, obviously take it on and off-road driving, and we're gonna have a good time. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, everyone, so let's go ahead and check out the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Now you guys are going to get a dirty Sequoia today because I only had it for about 24 hours. But the good news is this is one of those vehicles that just looks so good whenever it has some dirt on it. So I figured most people who are interested in this vehicle probably wouldn't mind. And the good thing about this Army Green is that when it is dirty, like it is right now, it still looks good, and it's just a good looking big old school SUV. Now this vehicle as is well above $60,000, so here's the exact MSRP. You guys can check that out, but this raises a lot of eyebrows. Now this is the biggest TRD, the most expensive TRD Pro that you can buy. It's probably about a few grand more than like a Tundra TRD Pro, but either way, this is going to give you a level of athleticism that this truck otherwise wouldn't have. Now, obviously those who buy one and they put aftermarket stuff in it, boom, you can do that. But from the factory, this is the most aggressive Sequoia that has ever been on offer. There are some specific things to this vehicle. So coming to the front, this is going to have a unique grill setup for the TRD Pro. So it's going to say Toyota right there in the middle. Looks really good, really aggressive. You have a different lower bumper here, and it's just going to be a lot more aggressive looking. You're going to have your rigid LED lights over to the right. You have full LEDs on this thing, LED daytime running lights, which look great, and you are going to have, of course, LED high beams. Right underneath here, way underneath here, you are going to have a TRD Pro skid plate, so you guys can see that right there. I'm going to point with my foot. There you go, because I'm laying on the ground. And yeah, you also have some recovery hooks located right here. All right, so as we move along to the wheels, these are going to be, once again, specific to the TRD Pro. So these are black BBS wheels. They are going to say Pro right here, which is kind of cool. It says TRD there in the middle, and it's going to say BBS Forged right there. But these are wrapped in Michelin ATX tires, 18-inch rim, and these are going to be 275, 65s all the way around. They have a pretty decent amount of traction, but I would hardly consider this a full-on off-road tire. This is definitely a more aggressive all-season for sure. And then right behind there, you're going to have your Fox internal bypass shocks, and they look pretty good. And obviously off-road, they're going to do well, but they give the Sequoia a little bit better of a ride on-road as well. Now, as we move along the side, here's the profile for you guys. I'll back up just a bit. And then it is going to say TRD Pro right here. Not sure if I like the placement. I don't hate it. I think it would have looked cool maybe like right here, or I don't know. Maybe it does look good there. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. This is why I'm not a designer. But anyways, as we come down here, you're going to have this TRD branded skid plate, or step, as you guys will probably most likely use it. But it is really high quality. And you definitely wouldn't worry about scratching this thing up because it could for sure take a beating. All right, so scooting back to like the rear quarter panel view, you're going to have a roof rack located right up there. Once again, that is going to say TRD. It's a pretty nice roof rack. It feels pretty high quality. But one of my favorite features is this rear window rolling down. So very simple. There are two buttons located right here. I also love how this badge and the Sequoia are blacked out, but as long as you have your key on you, hold this down, and there you go. Fold right down. You can reach in, get out what you need to get out. We'll go over this in just a bit, but I wanted to talk about that because that's easily one of my favorite features. And you push that, hold it to roll it back up. Now, as we come back here, you're going to have a blacked out TRD Pro badge there, and then you'll have a TRD specific exhaust as well as your spare tire mounted underneath. But let's go ahead and take a listen to that exhaust. All right, everyone, so here's your key for the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Very basic, just plastic key. Toyota there in the back. It's gonna have your lock, your unlock, trunk release, and then your panic right there. You also have a physical key that can push this and get out. So you can get into the car if your battery dies, and it also lets you get into the lockable glove box. But you're gonna have this ribbed pattern right here, and you put your thumb over that, or any finger you want, and then right behind the door handle, you have a touch sensitive area as well, and that's going to unlock the vehicle. All right, so approaching the TRD Pro Sequoia, here are the seats without me sitting in them. TRD Pro right there up top. But let's go ahead and hop in and we'll check out the rest of the interior. Okay, so sitting in the TRD Pro Sequoia. Now, I've got a good amount of room, so you can telescope the steering wheel, you can make it go up and down, and it telescopes out pretty far. I do wish it would go just a little bit more, but you know, that should be fine for most people. Then of course you can adjust your seats right here. You are going to have a lumbar support right here, and then you're going to have your thigh support located right here. You can extend that out a little bit further, and of course all of your normal settings right here. Now as far as the door, just two soft areas, everything else is just hard touch plastic. Decent amount of storage area right down here. You have this random little kind of pocket there. I guess you can put change in there, but considering the whole thing is just really hard plastic, you're gonna hear that rattling around, and it's not gonna be the most pleasing thing to hear, especially if you're taking this off-roading and everything's being thrashed around anyways. Obviously your window controls, door locks, window locks, and then you are gonna have your old school style emergency parking brake. So just pull that, push that down, and then there you go. That's how you emergency brake it. But let's go ahead and check out the rest of the interior. All right, so shutting the door on the Sequoia TRD Pro. Pretty solid shut. All right, and to start, your start-stop button is going to be located right back there. Foot on the brake. All right, starting at the steering wheel. Now, you are gonna have just a full leather wrapped steering wheel. You're not gonna have perforations anywhere. It's just all smooth leather here, no contrast stitching or anything like that. You're gonna have all of your cruise control settings over here to the right. So for example, that's gonna be your adaptive cruise, your lane keep, and your cruise control stock is gonna be located right back here, if you guys can see that. Very old school, but if you like using that, then Toyota still offers that for you guys. This is going to control the screen right up here, your back button, navigate through different menus. I'll go through this in a second. Media commands, phone, different modes, AM, FM, XM, obviously Toyota badge right there. Intermittent wipers, you're not going to have automatic wipers. And then over to the left, you're going to have automatic headlights with your fog lights located right there. Now, looking at this gauge setup, it's pretty nice. So I actually really like the middle part. So if I zoom in here, I love the way the middle part looks. It's really crisp, the lighting is great, and then once you get to these gauges, these look very cheap, very old school. If Toyota would have made the whole cluster look like this, I think it would look a lot more upscale just by doing that one simple move. That's just my opinion, but let me know what you guys think right there. But you're gonna have your tach over here to the left, and obviously your speedometer over to the right, as well as like your fuel, water temp, oil temp, battery voltage, and things like that. So that middle screen right there that you guys see, so if I use those arrows that I showed you guys earlier, I can scroll through, see things like my range, averaging about 11.4 miles per gallon, which is awesome, I guess. And then you can go through and just adjust different things like that. So really simple and very easy to use. So moving back out, you're gonna have your mirror controls, interior illumination, your trunk release located right there. You have a little area here, but probably couldn't fit much right in there. Now as you come up the dash, there's gonna be all hard touch, so you don't get a soft touch dash. I do love this grab handle here for getting in, and if you are going off-roading, it's nice to have something extra to grab onto other than just the steering wheel or like grabbing onto this guy right here. Tweeter here, speaker there for your JBL Synthesis sound system. It's a good sound system. It's not the best I've ever heard by far, but it's good. It's really good, and for most people who get this vehicle, it'll satisfy your music needs for sure. Now, coming right back here, you're going to have this tiny little screen here, but it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto now, so that is a great addition. You guys can see that working right there. And it just makes the user experience a lot more simplistic. You don't have to mess with anything once you have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto hooked up. So that kind of takes away from having to work around using this small screen, because if you have bigger fingers, touching things will definitely not be a great experience for you. Now moving down, you've got these huge knobs here. So if you like just having a big knob just to twist, like kind of slap your hand down and just do what you need to do, it's very simplistic to use. Dual zone climate control, so you can see that right there. Obviously your fan speed here, different temperature, and it's really, really easy to use. This is how you put it into different modes. So you have 2-wheel drive, you have 4 high, and then you're gonna push in and then twist to go into 4 low, but I'm not gonna do that right now. We'll do that a little bit later when we take it off-roading. Now right below here, you are gonna have your lock right there in the middle. You can have your tow haul mode. And then you have another little area, if I can move this back, which once again, doesn't have any sort of like rubber or anything inside, so whatever you put in there could potentially fly out. Over to the left, this is to roll down your back window. So if I look up here, there we go. So you guys already saw that working from the outside, and then you can also open and close it from the inside as well. Right next to that, traction control, and then your parking sensors located right there. Now as we come over here, here are your heated seats. It's interesting because it's just a little dial that you move up and down. So there's no exact setting. It's kind of, you want it somewhere in the middle, you want it all the way up, or you want it off. Rear temperature right there. Then as you come down, you're going to have 2 USBs located right there. I'm sorry, 3 USBs total. You have a 12 volt right over here. And then you have this area which looks like you can put something on there, but you lift this up and you've got more storage space. 2 cup holders right there. Arguably a 3rd cup holder if you can find a drink that's small enough to fit into there. Love this TRD shifter. It's just huge. It's like Thor's hammer. It's absolutely massive. Throw it into reverse. You are going to have a backup camera. Not the best quality, and it's also very small, but at least you have a backup camera. So another area to kind of put things in. Massive, massive armrest. I can fit an arm, passenger could fit an arm. If the person in the back, they want to throw their arm up here, they can do that as well. Lift that up and you're going to have a ton of storage space. Once again, this is a body on frame vehicle, so it's very truck-like in the storage capacity. So you lift this big guy out and boom, you can see a full-size Diet Coke just being absolutely swallowed in there. And then you obviously have room to spare on top of that. You have 2 storage areas here. Boom, one right there. Lockable glove box. Auto dimming mirror with a compass, home link. You don't have LED lights, but you know, they're plenty bright. I do wish they did have LEDs. It just makes a difference, especially if you were out on trails, darker areas. Just lighting up the cabin more will help you see in those dark areas, especially with all this storage. This is going to open up your moonroof right here, sunroof, whichever you want to call it. Vanity mirror right over here. No lights though, no light anywhere, so you don't have a light right there. So once again, that's why having an LED here would help for that person. Pretty much going to be it for the front. Let's go ahead and hop in the back and check out the space. Okay, so hopping in the second row of the Sequoia TRD Pro. Now, I've got a ton of room. I've got this set to my seating position. If I were a passenger, I'm 6 feet tall, and I've got like a foot of knee room. It's absolutely massive back here. Now, you can scoot the seat forwards and backwards. That was at the furthest position back, and my feet room is great. I can slide them underneath, no problem. You do have this armrest right here, which is just great to have. It just makes you feel more comfortable, and then you can rest your arm on the door here as well. Now, speaking of the door, material qualities are worse than the fronts, just because you only have one soft piece back here, and it's going to be this middle part, and you know, it's still hard touch plastic just everywhere. There is that, but when you shut it, it's pretty nice, it's pretty solid, and it has a good thunk to it. Now, you can recline the seat as well, so if I recline it right here, it's pretty aggressive. You can get pretty comfortable back here, and even if you were to scoot this forward, the person in the back would still, I guess, have room to put their feet under. We'll find out once I hop back there. You are going to have cup holders back here as well, so if you fold this down, I do wish it was a little bit more secure of an area. It just kind of, you know, flops there on the floor in like a very lazy fashion. I do wish it was a little bit better. You're going to have all of your temperature, all of your controls back here. You have a 12 volt there. It's pretty much going to be the extent of it. You don't have USBs. You have 2 mat pockets, and you're going to have a vent above your head, as well as 2 grab areas to get in. So let's go ahead and hop in the back, and we'll check out the third row. Okay, so getting to the third row of the Sequoia TRD Pro is very, very easy. There is this here, and all you have to do is pull that up and push this forward, and then the tracks move forward, and there's little steps here that where you can get in. So hopping in the back. All right, so I've got a good amount of room. Now, if I were to scoot right over here, I have about an inch behind here. Now, this is where I was sitting, and I believe this is at the furthest position back. So that is pretty nice. Now, over here, if you guys can see this at all, you are going to have these little buttons located right here. Now, this one is going to be just to adjust forwards and backwards like that. And then the one below that, that's actually to fold the seats down right there. So you do have that. You're going to have 4 cup holders total back here, 2 on my side, 2 on the other side, a vent, and that's pretty much the extent of it. You don't have any USB ports. You don't have a 12 volt back here or anything like that. And then to get out, if you guys can see this here, there's a little area here that you would push your foot on, and that's how you would get out. So let's go ahead and check out the trunk space. Okay, so going to the back of the Sequoia TRD Pro. Now, you guys already saw how these buttons work, but just to show you one more time, you push that, hold it, that's gonna fold down or roll down this window. And once again, if you have stuff back here, you can easily reach in, boom, get it out without having to fold this up. And let's say you have it parked in your garage or something, this is too close, or you're parked anywhere where you can't lift this up, you can roll this window down and still get this out, because this is a big girl, and when you put it in your garage, it's gonna take up a lot of room. So that is a real handy feature for sure. And rolling it back up.
I'm dead. I'm so dead.
All right, take 2. So rolling your window up. There we go. Perfect. And then to open it, this isn't going to be an automatic lift gate. Even though you're paying as much money as you are for this, you don't get an automatic lift gate. You just push this button here, and it's all hydraulic strut powered. So the good news is you can open and close it faster, I believe, than if it were to be automatic. And headroom is good, so if you are 6 feet tall like I am, I even have big hair, which is about another inch on top of me, I can fit underneath here and I'm not hitting my head at all. So that is pretty good. And you even have a little strap here to fold it down. But you guys can see this mat that's awkwardly placed right here. This is the mat that goes in the back of the Sequoia. So you can see it says Sequoia right there. Now the weird part about this is this only makes sense when the third row is folded down. So if I were to fold this down right now, takes a second, your headrest fold down as it's making its way down. And then once this is completely flat like it is right now, then at that point I can fold my mat back. But that seems kind of interesting to me. I would just opt to not get the mat. So I'm just gonna take that out right there. And then you open this up, you're gonna have more storage space located underneath here. And if you fold these guys back, you're gonna have like some jack assembly equipment, the things to change your tires and just get those bolts off of your tires. So that is pretty nice that you have all that area there. So very, very well thought out right there. You're gonna have some little areas here that you can like attach nets to. That way if you have things back here, they're not gonna roll around. And yeah, it's a pretty good amount of storage space. Obviously you can fold down the second row and you just have a cavernous machine that you can throw whatever you want in here. And honestly, this is probably slightly more convenient than a truck in terms of having a closed area to put things in. You can just lay a nice rubber mat here if you have things like lumber, and you can just easily throw it back here and just have tons of room to fit all your stuff. But let's go ahead and check under the hood. Okay, so coming under the hood of the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Now, interesting enough, when you lift up the hood, it's not right here, it's actually gonna be right here, and this whole thing, grill and all, is gonna lift right up. But it's pretty cool because you can see this massive radiator right here. You can see this big fan on top of the radiator, which you hear right when you start this thing up. And then obviously you are gonna have your crown jewel, your just bread and butter of this machine located right under here. It's the 5.7 liter naturally aspirated V8 from Toyota. This bulletproof engine is going to make 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque. And interesting enough, the torque is going to come in at around 3,600 RPM. Now, that is about 1,000 RPM, maybe a little bit more lower than you would get on like a TRD Pro Tacoma, which has the V6. That's important for off-roading because you want to have that lower end torque just to help ease onto the throttle. You don't have to get onto the throttle as much in order to get over an obstacle. You have more torque available and you have it at a lower RPM. So that's very, very beneficial. Now, as far as fuel economy, it's pretty bad. So you're getting a maximum of I think like 17 miles per gallon. You guys can see the exact fuel economy specs here, and you guys already saw it's getting like 11.4 on average in this thing. And trust me, I'm not trying to fill this up with gas in California, so I've been driving it very, very gently and still getting that fuel economy. Now, other than that, it's pretty much, like I said, a bulletproof engine. Most people get these vehicles because they see it, they see 300,000 plus, and they look at it more as like an investment. So if you want something that's more off-road ready and has that reliability, obviously this is what most people are going to go for. But let's go ahead, get this on and off the road and see how it does. All right, everybody, so driving the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Now right now I'm going down this pretty large hill out here in Dana Point, California, near where I live, and you know, it's a nice vehicle to drive. It's just very big, it's very comfortable. This is by far the most comfortable TRD Pro I've ever driven. Miles better than the Tacoma TRD Pro, better than the Tundra TRD Pro, better than the 4Runner TRD Pro. It's just very comfortable, very floaty, but not too floaty where it feels like you're just driving a giant boat. It handles itself pretty well. And you know, I've got this really slow turn right here, and you know, it does okay. It's a big machine, so lugging it around corners really is never going to be its strong point. But I do think that, you know, it handles decently well for what it is. And really, that's the main story with this thing. It handles pretty well off-road. So off-roading, it did a pretty good job where I was able to take it to a nice spot. And the only issues I had with it were that the side steps, which are meant to be beat up, you guys heard earlier when I was knocking on those side steps, are very, very heavy duty, and they scraped on almost every obstacle I went on. Like, not just barely scraped, like it scraped pretty bad. And so unfortunately, even though you've got 10 inches of ground clearance on this thing, it has a 122-inch wheelbase, which is pretty long. It's about a full 10 inches longer than the Tacoma TRD Pro, which already has a pretty long wheelbase. I mean, obviously in comparison to something like a Wrangler Rubicon or something like that. So this is just a beast when you're trying to take it on trails. So I'll let you guys go ahead and take a look at some of that footage. All right, everyone, so here's a situation I got into with the Sequoia TRD Pro. Now, the ground clearance on here is good. I took this exact same area with the Tacoma TRD Pro and it made it just fine. However, because it's so long, that longer wheelbase and that much bigger overhang right here means that we are pretty close to the ground right there. It's not scraping, but it's pretty darn close. We also have this little mud area here. So this wheel is stuck in some mud there. This wheel's got traction. The only thing is that I don't have traction here because of the mud there, and these tires don't seem to like mud very much. And then this one's just got full-on air right here. So, okay, so here's one of the issues with the Sequoia TRD Pro. Now you have more ground clearance than something like, let's say, the Tacoma TRD Pro, but because of that longer wheelbase and because of these running boards right here, those in combination means you have things like this happen. So I'm basically scratching this. Now, obviously it's a piece that's meant to be beat up, it's meant to be scratched, but yeah, it just, I don't know. I guess I'd rather this get scratched than like the bottom of your doors and things like that. But either way, I think the first thing I would do is put even bigger tires on this thing, because that longer wheelbase means that when you have higher obstacles like this, that dip in between this axle and this axle, when it comes down, you're always gonna hit like that. So having a shorter wheelbase is always ideal for trails, rock crawling, things like that, just because it helps you get over those steeper obstacles. Okay, so now that you guys know how it off-roads, just to sum up what you guys just saw, it did pretty well. These tires are there was one point where there was like this big patch of mud. I was getting the front tires there. The front tires would just spin, so then I had to take a different angle, but no matter what angle I took, either the front driver tire or the rear driver tire would hit that mud patch, and once that happened, I wasn't going anywhere. It just didn't work. These tires don't grip well in mud, so you know, when we looked up close at the tires earlier, these aren't really good off-road tires. They're aggressive all seasons, and that's about it. So a better tire would do this car a lot of good. And you know, it's so big, it just bottoms out, it takes up a ton of room. I will admit though, this has an incredible turning radius, absolutely incredible turning radius. This has a better turning radius than the Volvo I just reviewed, and that was a compact luxury sedan. So that is great, because even though this doesn't, you know, even though this takes up a lot of room on a trail, you can still turn very, very tight with this steering rack, and I think that is a very good move on Toyota's part. Now, in terms of the layout, obviously it's massive, so you have tons of room in here, so I have tons of arm space. If I had someone sitting here, I still would feel like I had my own giant area of personal space here. And then of course you've got great visibility out the back, gigantic mirrors, so you don't even really need blind spot, because I'm pretty sure the mirror can see your blind spot anyways. And then you've got this big V8, and the benefit to this, especially when off-roading, is once again, you got all that torque, so 401 pound-feet of torque, but that's available at 3,600 RPM, which is lower than you got on like the Tacoma. And so what that means is you just ease onto the throttle and you have that torque available, especially when you're in 4 low. All right, so in terms of driving, the V8 means that you get just effortless cruising power. So driving through Dana Point right now, it's just easy, which is good, because you don't want to have to be on the throttle hard on this vehicle, considering I've been averaging 11.1 miles per gallon. So the gentler you are on the throttle, the better it's going to be for your wallet later. But yeah, it just cruises, it sounds good, you can hear that TRD exhaust, and it does have a little bit of drone when you're just getting on it consistently, let's say around 30 miles an hour, but it's not that big of a deal, especially because it actually sounds pretty good. All right everyone, so to end the video, here are my final thoughts on this vehicle. I think it's a good vehicle. I don't think it's great, and most of that is because with the TRD Pro nameplate, it has a lot of capable parts. It has a lot of things that should make this capable, but there's no getting past how massive this thing is. I mean, this is bigger than a Toyota Land Cruiser. This is the biggest off-road vehicle that Toyota offers, and that girth is so noticeable when you take it on anything that's not like a camping grounds that you're trying to get up to. Anything that has a decent amount of difficulty to it, especially if it has some hills that have a little bit of steepness to them, you're gonna bottom this thing out just because that long wheelbase is not gonna benefit you. And it really depends on where you're trying to take this. It really depends on what you're trying to do with this, because most people, when they see the price point for this thing, they'd probably just save up an extra 10 to 15 grand and get a Land Cruiser and then dump all their money into that, because that's also a very rare vehicle that is going to hold its value probably better than this. But the Sequoia TRD Pro is still a good SUV. If you want something like this, it's one of the only ones I can think of in the segment that has this level of off-road capability and can carry 7 people. So with that alone, it kind of makes this a special vehicle, and it's the first ever TRD Pro of the Sequoia. But if you guys like this review, be sure to comment below, subscribe if you guys like car content. I love making this content for you guys, and be sure to like this video. It helps me out a ton, and I'll see you in the next review.